Okay. There we go. We're live. Okay. Hi, everyone. Let's see. I think that it got disconnected. Hello. Hi, Dreamers Together. We have one viewer. Let's see if we can get more viewers. Um, okay, we have two viewers. Fee credit. So I'm going to introduce myself briefly. My name is Elizabeth, and I am an accredited rep here with Dreamers Together. Um, we're going to be doing a Q&A, and I'm going to let Miss Fee credit introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. It's your caseworker Fikretta from Dreamers Together, and my teammate Ellie and I will be answering any AOS questions that you may have. Just please keep it within the AOS department, and if you have any DACA or AP questions, you can head on over to that department.
Yes, don't forget that we do have the sister. I call it sister. This is the AOS sister, and I'm going to put here it's DACA Dreamers Together official. For those of you that want to go ahead and kind of start on your DACA, advanced parole, join that group. And this one, the one we're in right now, is the AOS group where we talk about removal of conditions, green card applications, and citizenship.
One thing I want to touch on with the AOS cases, whether we are prepping it for you or you are doing it yourself, is just please make sure, um, you know, you check your history and you don't have any issues, such as, any violations or any charges, because when you go to your interview, the officer will have them. They will, USCIS has access to everything, even something that was expunged. Okay. So when you are filing, your AOS packet or we are prepping it, you need to disclose that information. Um, Obviously, if it's, something that's concerning or alarming, or you don't know if, you might get in trouble for it, just, obviously get an attorney. But they want to know if you've had ever been arrested, cited, or charged. Even if that charge was dismissed, you have to understand that you have to disclose that and you have to provide this disposition, because they will have that in front of them. And you want to go to your interview and have a smooth interview. You don't want the officer to, see something in front of him, even though it was dismissed and no charges were brought. You have to provide an explanation and you have to provide that paperwork so that you don't get an RFE and now you're running into a situation where you didn't disclose something that was dismissed and no charges were brought, and you know you're sitting in front of an officer that's looking at you like you might have purposely tried to hide it. You don't want to run into those issues. So if you've ever had any charges dismissed, or if you have any charges you are concerned about, you need to get those dismissal. You need to get the dismissal paperwork, the disposition for those charges, whether they were dropped, whether you were charged. You have any concerns regarding those charges, please reach out to, a consultation with us. Whatever you do, you do not hide things like that. Or sometimes you're unaware. If you're unaware, just check, do a FOIA or check with your local courthouse. Um, just make sure you go to these appointments prepared, because even if it was a charge that was dismissed and you were never found guilty or anything, that they're going to want the paperwork and they're going to find it.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I see a lot of is we'll get, or we'll hear people that say it was expunged, but in immigration in USCIS's officer's eyes, it's never not there. It's gonna be there, and they do want that paperwork. And they will ask for it. Like you say, best to go ahead and take it. One thing that I think it's very important to mention also, fee credit, is you want to make sure that you don't have a prior deportation case. And I
Mhm.
think one of the biggest things with our parents, and I will say it out of experience from my parents and the Hispanic community, is parents don't talk about these things because they think that by not talking about them, they're going to avoid the issue. And so they don't tell you, oh, you entered this, we were caught, we were detained, we were fingerprinted. And I've actually seen a couple of cases, not our cases, but here in the Facebook group, where they're showing up to their interview, and at the interview, they're finding out that they have a deportation case.
Yeah, listen, and sometimes parents are like, "Oh, no big deal. It doesn't affect if it doesn't affect my child," but it does affect the child because if the child entered with a parent, the child may very well have a deportation order. So these are very, very important things to take in consideration. Sit with your parents, talk with your parents, do background checks, go to the automated case information, put your A number in, and check if you have a removal because you do not want to go to your interview with a removal because it depends on the officer whether they will give you a chance to resolve it or not. Okay.
I'm going to drop the website, the automated EOIR. You
Hmm.
want to check and you want to put your alien number. The alien number is the 9-digit number that's on the front of your DACA card. The thing about the EOIR is that it's not 100% accurate,
True.
because what happens is, for example, as a child, somebody came in and they were fingerprinted, they were given an alien number. But the child never knew anything about the alien number. So then they applied for DACA. USCIS then put together that this person already has an alien number and they were issued an alien number again. Now they have two alien numbers. But if you're trying to pull an alien number, sorry, if you're trying to pull up the EOIR, the deportation, with your DACA alien number, and you had an alien number that you're not aware of, and you have a deportation order under a different alien, then of course it's not going to show up. So there's that always small probability that you have more than one alien number. So this is where it's very important to go back and talk to your parents and see, like,
Yes.
be honest with me, tell me
Hmm.
what happened. I need to know.
And sometimes if you do not have that option, just do a FOIA. Okay. A CBP and the open FOIA. Yes, you know, they take some time to get back, but it's worth it, especially if you don't have that option of going to your parents and finding out, if you have another A number, or obviously they're not going to know if you have another A number, but if you have a removal. And sometimes parents don't even know if they have removal orders. So that's why it's very important to be very thorough and check. Go back and talk to them, check the paperwork. You know, if you have no other options, submit a FOIA, a CBP, and the open FOIA.
Hmm. Yeah, that's one of the biggest things is I have seen it. I have seen a case or two here on the Facebook group that they did not know whatsoever they had a deportation order. They showed up to their green card interview, and that's when they were told by the officer, "Oh, we can't proceed with your adjustment of status because you have a removal, an order of removal." So
Yeah.
very important is to double check on that. And like I say, whenever we started, with Dreamers Together and making videos and all this, one of the questions that we had asked was, how did you find out, you had a VACA? Because again, a lot of parents never told their children, hey, you're undocumented, you were not born here, you don't have a social. Some of these children came to find out when they were getting ready to apply for a job or to go to a university, college, and that's when they went and they were like, hey, I need my paperwork because I'm applying for this. And that's when parents told them, there's no paperwork. You were not born here. You're not a citizen.
Yeah.
Again, parents, I know they love us. They love us way too much. It's very important for them to tell us these kind of things. And like you say, if when in doubt, run a FOIA. The thing about FOIA is
Yes.
they're gonna take long, depending which one, but it's sometimes best to just wait, run your FOIAs, make sure everything comes clean, especially when in doubt, and then proceed with your adjustment of status, especially with this current administration.
Correct. Correct.
How long are CBP FOIAs taken?
Maybe more than 9 months. And right now we can say possibly more than 12 months. It depends. So in between
Hmm.
9 and 12.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say, something can always come up.
Yeah.
So you just
So
want to double check.
especially if you don't have the resource of going to your parents.
Yeah. And now also another thing is, like you say, some were younger and weren't able to come with their parents. They came with an aunt, uncle, parents not here.
Mhm.
So if you can't reach out to your family, run a FOIA. There's different types of FOIAs you can run and they can take, depending on which one they can take a year or even more. But again, especially for those that have questions of, their immigration history, it's a good idea to run them.
Mhm. And another very, very important thing is, and we can't stress this enough, is please keep DACA active. Some people, tend to think, oh, my green card is pending. I'm not even going to renew DACA because I should have my green card shortly or my approval. No. Regardless of when you are approved for your green card, your DACA is to remain active. Please, please, please renew until you get that green card in hand. It is very, very important. It protects you from deportation, especially right now with what's going on with the new administration and all.
Yeah. And you want to make sure that you have DACA.
Hmm.
Um, the card has to say C33 on it. If it has any other number than C33, it's not a DACA card. And so you want to make sure that what you're renewing is DACA. You want to make sure you are renewing. I will say minimum 6 months, and that's very bare minimum. Very bare minimum is 6 months. Right now they are taking a little bit longer than 6 months. So you just want to make sure that you are renewing on time and that you continue to have your DACA. Um, we don't have any questions.
No, that's why we just go on and talk about, these issues and in our AOS community.
Yeah. Um, I have people that ask about interviews. Am I going to be getting an interview? Because I have seen like some cases get interviews waived. What is the criteria for the reviewing officer to schedule an interview? Right now, I've barely seen waived interviews. I've seen child to parent petitions, and those are also getting called for interviews. Is that the
Yes.
same thing you're seeing with your cases?
Yes. With the new administration, I've only had one case that was waived in interview, and that was right at the beginning. As we moved on, even child to parent cases are getting interviews. So, I mean, the likelihood that you're not going to get an interview is very, 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 very low. Um, you are going to get an interview. Most likely, that's what we're seeing. I mean, if you look at the pattern, since the new administration, like I said, only that one case without an interview at the very beginning. After that, moving forward, all the way till like I say today, everyone that I have worked with is being issued interviews. And it's not
I'm seeing the
necessarily a
same thing.
bad thing. You know what I mean? They're just checking to make sure that, the paperwork that was submitted with all the information is correct and legit. They're just checking for fraud, basically. So don't get alarmed. Just go to your interview, take all your originals with you, review your AOS packet. Obviously, if you're husband and wife, you're going to sit down, you're going to review the packet, review it together, talk about where you met and all of that, marriage information and where each of you works. Um, so, just some tips to keep in mind. And you can take more marital evidence with you to submit, to show the officer, or you can upload it in your unsolicited evidence if you have time. But please don't be alarmed if you get an interview. Like I said, after this new administration, we have not seen any interviews being waived. I had one. That's it. At the very, very beginning of this year.
Hmm. They are right now. I'm getting notifications back to back of appointments.
Yeah, me too.
I think we're able to try on Facebook. Let's see. Okay, I think we're actually on Facebook now. Let me try to share it and maybe we'll be able to get some answers. I mean, some questions. Yes, there we go. Okay, I think we're on Facebook now. Let's see.
Also, another positive note, Ellie, is I think they're starting to slow down with the RFEs. You know, for the new I-485 for the individuals that do choose to be exempt, and they submit their Social Security statement and all of their EAD cards front and back. I think they are slowing down with the RFEs. So hopefully, you know, they put two and two together and realize that an 864 is not needed.
Yeah, I was kind of worried about that at the beginning because I was like, oh no,
hmm
they
Well, the
don't
good
know.
news, yeah, the good news is not only did Ellie's client get an interview after resubmitting, my client also got an interview after we resubmitted everything in the USCIS portal in their account where the officer had direct access and was able to see and confirm that this individual does have the 10 years and the 40 credits, and they issued them interviews. So do not get alarmed if you get an RFE. Just please make sure that you really have those 10 years on your Social Security statement and your EAD cards front and back.
Yes, front and back. Now, if you don't have the EADs for those missing periods, get the approval notice.
hmm
I
Yes.
recommend that everybody has a access to their USCIS account. If you don't have an account, make one because you're going to be able to find your approval notices, any correspondence from USCIS before you get it in your hand, paper mail. You're already going to be seeing that notification, and whenever you're doing like some of these, I'm bad at keeping paperwork, okay? So I know that I have access to my USCIS account and I know that my approval notices are there. It doesn't hurt to, of course, download them, print them, save them for later. But if you're like me, that can sometimes be unorganized, they're there. So make sure you do have an account.
Yes, very important.
Same for adjustment of status. Sometimes before we get the notification via paper, I already got a ding. There's a letter in there for you. I'm like, oh, it's an RFE because of 40 credits. So make sure you do have um make sure you do have an account. And another thing is if you're not working with the dreamers together, make sure that your attorney is giving you your paperwork and is not holding your paperwork hostage. And the reason I say this is because I see a lot of cases where the only one that's getting the notifications on the cases is the attorney. And the clients are completely lost. They don't know, they never knew that there was an RFE that was coming their way. They never knew if it was ever responded to. They find out once the case was denied because the attorney did not follow up. They, you know, Dreamers Together, we have our clients get a copy of the notifications. We have a copy of the notifications, but not everybody works like us, unfortunately. So you want to make sure that too.
Correct.
Let us know if you guys have any questions. We're going to be here for a few more minutes and then we will go. What are kind of like the time frames that you're seeing right now?
For approvals,
Hmm.
um, I just saw an approval come in for about 60 days, I believe, but that's very, very rare. It depends on your field office, okay? Some field offices are backed up and it will take months, and some work faster than others, but I have seen 60 days, I have seen 4 months, 6 months, 8 months. It depends, but unfortunately, right now we have to. Um, we can't file an inquiry if your case is taking too long unless it goes over a year.
Hmm. I have a few cases that have been approved sooner than other
Mhm.
cases that have been waiting, and I've already started trying to do an out of normal processing time inquiry for those cases that are waiting. The system will not let me. It says still normal processing time.
Yeah. And unfortunately, even if you do file an inquiry and you speak to an agent, they will literally let you know the case is pending.
Hmm.
And there's nothing more you can do because they're letting you know the case is pending. And you unfortunately have to wait.
Hmm. That's one of the very important things here when you're doing your adjustment of status is patience. Don't get
Yes.
discouraged if you see someone in the Facebook group or a family member or friend that's also doing the same process that you are and that they have already gotten approved and you submitted before them. It can be very discouraging, but unfortunately
Yes.
USCIS is not fair. They jump all over the place.
Hmm.
So everybody's time will be coming, especially if
Yes.
you're already in the process. You're in the process. It's a waiting game.
Yes. That's
Okay,
true.
so let's see. We have Michael. I'll read it. I just joined. What are you guys talking about right now? Um, we were talking about, a couple of things. We were actually on YouTube and then we came here to Facebook. So we were just talking about deportation orders, filing your adjustment of status, getting a copy of your paperwork. Um, if you guys have questions, pónganlos en español. También podemos contestar. Picreta, if you speak Macedonian, right? Is
Yes.
it Macedonian?
Macedonia.
If you speak Macedonian, put the question in here too.
Yeah.
We're trilingual.
Or even if you speak I can still get away with a little bit of Bosnian or even Albanian. We'll pull it off.
Okay, there we go. 5 languages. Streamers Together speaks 5 languages. This one.
Okay. Hi, Gela. How long after they receive your I-45 with the 40 credits should you expect an RFE? So this goes back to what I said earlier. You might get an RFE, but you might not get an RFE. Okay. If you get an RFE, typically sometime it will take them like a week to maybe 2 or 3 till you get that RFE. Or like I said, you may not get an RFE. Okay. So what we have seen a pattern of when they issue these RFEs, they happen within the first month. So either you're going to get one or not, but if you get one, expect one within the first month unless their time frame changes and they're taking longer to issue RFEs. Okay. And then Michael Saza says the 40 credits. Oh, so he wants to know some information about the 40 credits. Uh, well, Michael, this goes back to what we were talking about earlier, is if you get an RFE because they are looking for an I-864 and you are eligible for the 40 credits, and you are eligible to be exempt from filing the 864 uh, from your petitioner, then you would resubmit. Okay, if you get an RFE for the I-45 stating they want an I-864, but you have the 10 years and the 40 credits, just resubmit them, upload them in your USCIS portal, and the officer can, have access to them directly. And then hopefully that'll work out and he'll schedule your interview.
And we have started seeing
Hmm.
interviews starting to be
Yeah.
scheduled after the RFEs are contested months, five,
Mhm.
6 months later, but
Yes.
they are.
Hmm. Yep.
And I have seen a few approvals after that RFE was submitted and they went to the interview and they resubmitted the 40 credits. I have seen a few approvals in the Facebook group as well. I'll read it, you answer it.
Okay.
Okay. It says, my lawyer makes me nervous that we don't have enough evidence for our AOS. We don't have taxes together, married this year. My name is not on the house. He already had bought the house way before we met, and no car insurance together. Have other experienced denials due to not enough evidence.
Okay, so you can get an RFE. Once you submit your packet and the officer is looking through your packet, your forms, your marital evidence, if he feels like you do not have sufficient evidence um, to prove a bona fide marriage, he will issue an RFE. So I have seen cases where RFEs have been issued for marital evidence. So I mean, you can file your AOS packet, but if you don't have enough marital evidence, what's going to happen is you're going to get RFE'd. And when you get RFE'd, you need to prove your case and you need to submit strong bona fide marital evidence. So if you don't have, any legal documentation in both names, you know, start building your case before you present your AOS packet to USCIS and obtain as many as you can affidavits of support in the marriage, and even better if they take them to their local bank and notarize them for a few dollars. So as many as you can notarize letters in support of the marriage, and you know build that marital evidence is very, very important. So that way when you go to your interview, you have some more evidence to support your USCIS officer. And again, always remember, if you have any social media posts, you can use those. Any text between the two of you, you can use those. Zelle transactions, you can use those. So every little bit helps.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Ellie, anything
Carlita,
else? I was gonna say anything else you would like to add to that?
um, I will say this. If you are working with an attorney, make sure that you're getting every single cent you pay to them worth it. Ask them,
Yes.
if I don't have enough evidence, what else do you recommend?
Hmm.
Also, remember, we have resources in the Facebook group that are free.
Hmm.
Check them out there, see what everybody else has used, and kind of go based off of that. But if you have an attorney, ask them, okay, if I don't have enough evidence, what else do you recommend me to add? Carlita says, I feel so new. Can you briefly go over the process? What part of the process are you in, Carlita? If you're just starting, I recommend that you start with the Facebook guides. There is a guides tab section. You can download the cover letter, and it's going to tell you which documents you need for every single form. Start there. Start getting familiarized with what each form is and the evidence for each single form. Then go ahead and start posting your questions in the Facebook group. Hey, I'm on I-130. What does this mean? But it's very much easier to explain once you have like a brief overview of what you're going to be doing for your case. It's going to be very hard to try to do step by step if there's no, you're not familiarized with any part of the process. So I recommend everybody start with the Facebook guides.
Yes, that's a huge, huge resource. I mean, it'll help you tremendously. Okay, Neil. Hi, oh, I'm sorry, Nelly. Hello, Nelly. Submitted AOS November 2022, 2024. Interview was held on June 3rd, 2025, and I was approved on the spot. Your time will just come. Be patient. Correct. You're correct, Nelly. Thank you.
Patience.
Hmm.
Patience.
We have to also remember. I've also noticed one thing is some of my clients are going to their interviews, and the officer says, "Well, I haven't reviewed your packet yet, so I have to review your packet and get back to you with a decision." Sometimes maybe they're so overwhelmed that they don't even get to your packet to review it, to give it one more, maybe, one more check or have a decision for you that day. So they maybe need a little more time to review your packet and then give you a decision. And sometimes even when they approve you on the spot, even when they give you a verbal approval, they will take time till they update it in the system. So patience is key.
I actually have a case. They
Hmm.
were told they were approved on the spot. It's probably been 2 to 3 weeks, maybe even 4 weeks. I have to go back and check. No approval yet.
Hmm. It'll happen. Gotta
Hmm.
give them a little bit of time. And sometimes, like I said,
Okay.
maybe they're overwhelmed too, and they have cases, and it just takes time for them to update everything. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
All right, Ali, would you like to read this one, and then I'll chime in?
Yes. My interview is scheduled for end of July. We have health insurance, mutual bank account, life insurance, trip receipts, a bunch of photos.
Okay, good. Well, you have something to work with. Just take that and take that to your interview. Take the originals to your interview, and if you have any more, let's say the latest, take those with you. So take old and new. originals with you to your interview, and then you can just, like I said, give the officer more, present more marital evidence to him. But you sound like you have legal documentation here. But like I said, with marital evidence, I mean, I can take loads and loads of it. I like marital evidence. So if you have any more to add to this, by all means, add it.
Yes, yes. Okay, I think that's all of the questions, and I think we're gonna, if you're ready, we can go ahead and hop off, so we can
Yes.
get prepared for our next appointments. Join us next Wednesday at the same time, and let us know, what questions you may have. Okay,
Yes.
bye everyone.
Bye bye. Have yourselves a great day, guys.